so going up the side of this mountain, there are chains up the side of the mountain on the rocks that you have to hold onto these chains to make your way up. If you don't, you end up back down in the valley. And there is a place on this hike as you're going along the ridgeline that you can stand and look like this, and you can see 1,000 feet to the floor, to the valley floor below. I did it, but it was terrifying. This is a close second, being up in front of y'all tonight. So bear with me, grace and patience, please. I want to acknowledge the folks that are in the room tonight. There's some folks here with us from Pegram, from Chapel Hill, not in Chapel Hill, referred to as the real Chapel Hill. Is that right? Where's Cameron Crawford at? There he is, the real Chapel Hill. Is there anyone else here from another congregation with us tonight? White Bluff, all right, nice, White Bluff. Well, we are super excited about y'all being here with us tonight. When we are done here for the youth groups, there is a meal that has been prepared for you guys back in our fellowship hall. So when we're done here at the end of service, if you'll make your way back there, we want to hang out with y'all for a little bit longer. So we have been talking about, for the last little bit, we've been talking about being imitators. We've done some youth area-wides at these other congregations, and we've talked about what it means to be imitators. And tonight we're going to talk about what does it mean to be imitators of priorities. And we're expressing the love of Christ through our lives when we're doing this, when we're setting these priorities. So one of the things that I think really stands out when we are setting priorities as children of God is just that. We stand out. We look differently. Our lives look differently. The way we're talking looks differently. The way we interact and react with others, all of that looks different. And it stands out to the world. It stands out against the world. I am a strong proponent, that in this life, structures precede outcomes. So listen to that again. Structures precede outcomes, meaning that if we put structures and processes in place, we are more likely to get to that outcome that we're looking for, to get to that goal that we're trying to reach, than if we just go, and go about it without a plan. So structures do not guarantee an outcome, but they definitely make it a lot more predictable. In order to do that, we've got to set some priorities. But in order to set priorities, we have to know what our goal is. We have to know what we're trying to reach. What are we trying to accomplish? And I believe that in order to understand that, we have to know who we are. We have to know what is our identity, what makes us who we are. And as children of God, that is where our identity stands. That we are children of God, and our identity rests in the fact that He created us in His image. In Genesis 1:27, it tells us that we are created in God's image and that we are a reflection of Him. Hear that. You are a reflection of the Creator, of God. You are a reflection of the Creator. So what does that mean to be an image bearer? It means that we are bearing the image of Christ. We are bearing the image of our Creator to the world. When we look at artists, whatever their medium might be, whether it's sculpting, whether it's painting, whatever it is, they're creating an image, not because it's mundane and so. They're creating an image because it is noteworthy. And if they are creating something that is of another person, of another human, they're doing that because they believe that that person is noteworthy. We don't put statues in town squares because the people didn't do something. We put them there because we want people to know that those people that this sculpture is after are noteworthy. As children of God, He has put that in us, that we will bear His image so that people can see He is noteworthy. God has created us in a way, again, that stands out. When you ask people, when you ask the world, well, what does that mean that God has created us to stand out and He's created us in His image versus all the other things that He has created, you might hear this. Well, our morality is what that means. The fact that we have an idea of right and wrong. Maybe it's our logical reasoning, the fact that we have rationale. Maybe it's our sense of justice. I would say that all of those are part of Him creating us in His image. But at the simplest, the smallest piece of what does it mean to be created in His image is that we are reflecting his greatness, that he has created us to be the reflection of who he is to the world, that they might see his greatness, that they might see not only his greatness, but also his beauty and his power and his authority. And that, again, it's just marvelous that he chose us to do that. He chose us to bear that image. Let me look over here at our group real quick. Tessa Reed. Tessa, you play basketball, is that correct? Okay. So looking at our priorities and our structures, when you go to basketball practice, your coach just doesn't say, hey, here's a ball, go do something, I'll see you later. They have an idea of what they want you to do, correct? And it's to accomplish a goal. So you'll be faster, you'll know the plays, you'll do all the stuff that needs to get done when you get out on the court against your opponents, right? Okay, I saw Ryder Lynch earlier. Ryder, you're active in theater, right? That's something that is a big part of your life, is that correct? Okay. Benjamin Pewitt, trying not to make eye contact. You play golf, is that right? Okay, so that's a big part of your life as well. Evie, what instrument do you play? The oboe. So all of those things are things that make you who you are. They're part of who you are. They inform the person that you are. And everyone in this room, we all have things that inform who we are. But none of that is our identity. Our identity still remains in God, or in Christ, and the fact that we're created in God's image. Flip one more, please. So in Colossians 3, we're going to look at verses 1 to 17. This is a letter that is being written it's like a pep talk. Think of it as a pep rally for ministry. And it's a pep rally in saying, you used to do some stuff that maybe wasn't great, but that's not you anymore. That your image has changed, and it is a reflection of the Creator. So your priorities have changed, the way you act has changed, and because of that, your new creation, you are going to shine into this world in a way that is going to look different, that is going to draw attention in a positive way, but that is ultimately going to put the glory on Christ and on the end goal of us all being in heaven together. So let's look at chapter 3. This is Colossians chapter 3, starting in verse 1. If then you have been raised with Christ, seek the things that are above, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. Set your mind on things that are above, not on things that are on earth, for you have died, and your life is hidden with Christ in God. When Christ, who is your life, appears, then you also will appear with him in glory. He's already given us some of our priorities to set. Verse 5, put to death, therefore, what is earthly in you, sexual immorality, impurity, passion, evil desire, and covetousness, which is idolatry. On account of these, the wrath of God is coming. In these you too once walked when you were living in them, but now you must put them all away. Anger, wrath, malice, slander, and obscene talk from your mouth. Do not lie to one another, which is being renewed and not... I got off, sorry about that. Do not lie to one another, seeing that you have put off the old self with its practices, and have put on the new self, which is being renewed in knowledge after the image of its Creator. Hear that again. Do not lie to one another. Here it is, seeing that you have put off the old self with its practices, and you have put on the new self, which is being renewed in knowledge after the image of its Creator. Here there is not Greek and Jew, circumcised and uncircumcised, barbarian, Scythian, slave, free, but Christ is all and in all. This is verse 12. Put on then as God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, compassionate hearts, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience. Do you think those things are going to stand out in this world as looking different? Bearing with one another, and if one has complaint against another, forgiving each other. As the Lord has forgiven you, so you also must forgive. And above all these put on love, which binds everything together in perfect harmony. And let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, to which indeed you were called in one body, and be thankful. Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly, teaching and admonishing one another in all wisdom, singing psalms and hymns and spiritual songs with thankfulness in your hearts to God. And whatever you do, in word or deed, do everything in the name of the Lord Jesus, and giving thanks to God the Father through him. Like that's one of those Ric Flair moments. Woo! It's a pep rally for saying you were once doing this, but you are a renewed creation that is going to be so different in this world that people can't help but to look your way. And when you do, you're reflecting my greatness. That's just powerful. Young people that are here with us tonight, I want to talk to you directly for a moment. This pertains to all of us, though, so don't go away. Young folks, what is our focus? Where are we setting our priorities? What is our focus on? How do those priorities stack up? And do they align with us being image bearers of Christ? Now, here's the reality. We have to make that assessment, and we have to answer that question to ourselves. I can't answer it for you. You can't answer it for me. We have to assess where are those priorities in life, in our faith pursuit, and are they in alignment with us being that image bearer of Christ? Now, the answer could be, yeah, it absolutely is. Or the answer may be, no, right now it's not. That's okay. That's okay. Because that can change. But we have to think about what is it? Are we looking at how the world perceives us around us? Is it our social media presence? Is it the people we hang out with or the people we don't hang out with? What are those priorities? Is our priority sports or academic excellence or fill in the blank with whatever might pertain to you? And hear me say this, those things aren't wrong. Those things aren't sinful. It's not sinful to pursue sports and to be great in school and to have passion and drive. But we have to have our priorities in a place that say, is that taking priority over pursuing God? We have to think about that. Our lives reflect an example to others, whether that's good or bad. We're going to reflect some type of example to others. That's just a reality. When the world sees others stepping on each other to get ahead, stabbing each other in the back, doing whatever they can to get ahead, but in that same moment, they see you giving of yourself so that someone else might succeed or so that someone else might know love and might see Christ. That stands out. That's a strong, strong example to the world. And when the world tells us that the number one priority is self, that we should be looking at what can I get, what can I take from you, it's all about me because no one else is going to think of me. Are we falling in line with that? Is that what our lives reflect? Of you guys, I don't think that's true. I think you guys reflect amazingly the love and compassion of Christ toward others. And that makes me proud. But we have to think about that. Are we reflecting that our number one priority is something other than self? And when this all comes to an end, when this life is over with, there are going to be so many things that in this life we have said this is so incredibly important that the reality is it has nothing to do with us getting to heaven. There are going to be so many things, but what will matter is our relationship with Christ. Without doubt, that's what will matter is our relationship with Christ. If our goal is someday to spend eternity, remember those structures and outcomes, if our goal is to someday spend eternity in heaven with God, it is vital that we take assessment of our lives and ask, what are the things we are doing? What are the structures that we have in place that are actively pushing us toward that goal of heaven? Are we devoting time to the things that are drawing us closer to God? If we claim to be followers of the Lord, can the world tell that? Can they tell that by the way we're acting? I think most of the time, I love being able to say this again right here. Yeah, I can see it. But if we're not, if we have that moment where we say, no, my life currently isn't reflecting the way I want it to, the image and the love of Christ, again, that's okay. We can realign that. We can work together and we can put things in place that put us back on the path that is going toward that goal of heaven and walking toward Him. Here in Luke 12, Jesus is talking to his disciples. And here he's been talking about not worrying. And this is a little further down in the chapter there, but starting in verse 29, he says, "Do not seek what you will eat and what you will drink, and do not keep worrying. For all these things the nations of the world eagerly seek. But your Father knows that you need these things. Seek his kingdom, and these things will be added to you." He's given a priority right there. Seek his kingdom. Don't worry about this stuff. This is Kyle's paraphrase, but he's saying, look, man, quit worrying about if we're going to have food tonight. Don't worry about what clothes are going to be on your body. My Father's got that. Seek him. Seek his kingdom. And the things that you need, he's going to give them to you. They may not look like what you want them to look like, but he's going to give you what you need. Seek him. That's your priority. Now, parents, we've been talking tonight a lot to the young folks here with us. So for just a minute, I'm going to step on our toes. And I said our, I'm putting myself in there. I'm going to step on ours collectively. We are not going to get off this easy. So if you would, click to that next slide. Look at this young man here, Aaron Johnson. Did this guy have different priorities at this point in life than 2023 Aaron Johnson? Oh, yeah, I said, oh, yeah. Yeah, this next guy, that guy right there, he definitely had different priorities than 2023 Kyle. Where's Chris Webb? There he is up there. You couldn't hide in that darkness up there. These kids right here, man, did they know what was coming down the line to them? A lot of good times and some hard ones. Things change when children come into the picture. Priorities change. What does not change, you heard Chris McCurley say this morning, what does not change is the message and what we are trying to get, where we are trying to go, what we are trying to accomplish, and that is to get us all to heaven. Parents, we have to, and I'm going to say congregation, we have to ask ourselves, is our priority helping our kids get to heaven? Is that our priority? Or is our priority somewhere else? Is our priority getting on travel teams? Or is our priority getting extra help with tutoring? Are those things wrong? There's nothing wrong with those things, but are those things taking the place of pursuing God? Are we trying to get help, sports help, and academic help, or are we trying to find faith help so that we are pursuing God? Because at the end of this, what is going to matter is if us and our young folks have made it to heaven, have done the things that are in the Bible that God calls us to get our souls saved and to be in heaven with him. What are we expressing to our kids, folks? Think about that. That's a personal assessment. What are we expressing? I hope it's a love for Christ. It's a love for each other. It's a love for this congregation. Are they hearing conversations from us that are uplifting? Are they hearing conversations from us that are encouraging and talking good about those that are sitting in the pews beside you and talking about the church and the goodness that comes from it? I hope so. I hope that's what they're hearing. Are they seeing us prioritize being together as Christians? Are they seeing us prioritize being at worship, loving each other? Are they seeing us prioritize loving the people outside of this building? I hope so. I hope the answer to that is in your life. Yes, they are. Because we are reflecting, just like we are an image bearer and reflecting the image of Christ to the world, our lives are also reflecting to our young folks, and they're reflecting to each other. I recently went to Nepal and a few weeks ago, and while I was there, one of the gentlemen that was with us is a guy named Jonathan De Jesus, and this is Jonathan and I here. Jonathan is the college minister at the Northridge Christian Church, which is in Milledgeville, Georgia. This is the first time I'd met Jonathan, was on the other side of the world. And we got to spend a lot of time together, really cool guy. And we had some interesting conversations. So I just want to share one of those with you. you are.
Yeah.
But that's not your identity.
Correct.
Your identity is based in Christ.
Correct.
So when we're looking at that, and we have goals for ourselves, but we have goals for the kingdom, knowing where that identity is, that's important. That's a big piece. We got to set things, we got to prioritize things so that we're reaching the goals. We've got to know some things about ourselves in order to set those priorities right so that we can reach those goals. And part of that is that identity. So as we look at that, as we look at what is our identity, man, there's a lot of things that can throw that sideways. A lot of things that can get that off. A big one is pride. That's a big one that can be that can get thrown off when we look at our priorities, making sure we shine. Our priorities, making sure people see the cool things we do, that sort of stuff. So you talked yesterday when we were just chit-chatting about sitting up here looking into the mountains and a thought that hit you. Can you just tell us about that?
Yeah, man. It was, we've been getting up early and going on little walks and little excursions and whatnot. And as we went up to the little Buddhist temple up there just to kind of do a little hike and just look up there. And as you sat there, we kind of got there early and kind of began to see the sun hit the peak of this massive mountain kind of in the distance. And I just had this beautiful awe, like, oh my goodness, look how gorgeous this mountain is. And then I thought about it, and it just hit me like, it's gorgeous because something else powerful and mighty is reflecting on it. Yeah. So the mountain is reflecting something that's way more beautiful and more powerful. And I thought about us as Christians and as followers of Jesus, how we are called to reflect Christ in our lives. We're intricately made. We've been designed purposefully by this Creator, and in the purpose of all that is to reflect Him in everything we do. And so how I act, how I talk, how I hang out with people, how I respond to people in crucial moments, or how I hold back when I'm angry or frustrated, and instead of having the last word, maybe just showing compassion and love the way Christ called us to. And I thought about the mountain and how beautiful and gorgeous the mountain is, but it was reflecting something way more powerful and way more beautiful than itself, which is the sun, right? And how we are beautiful in everything we do, but it's not about me, right? I can stand there and be like, oh, look at me, and I can get some glory, but at the end of the day, what good is that? The glory is meant to be going to God. And so how we portray that, how we reflect Christ in our everyday lives matters.
Yeah, that reflection of Christ's love toward others, that he has made us really, really uniquely, and he's made us with great power through him, because we're created in his image. But he's the show.
Correct.
He's the one that's coming out.
Correct.
He's what people should see in us. So does that mean, man, that we can't be, or we should not be proud of our accomplishments?
No, absolutely not. I think you should be proud. I think you can say, oh man, look how good and what I've done, right? The good work that God has. But at the end of the day, what is that pointing to, right? The hands that I have were given to me by God, right? The talent that I have has been given to me by God. The gifts and everything is ultimately given to me to advance the kingdom of God wherever I am, right? In my school, work, classroom, household, whatever that is. And so, you can be proud, but don't let that pride and arrogance kind of seep into your heart and let it kind of fester in the garden of our hearts and let it kind of uproot into something way more kind of sinful. And by that, I mean letting it actually become prideful and arrogance and saying it's all about me. It's like, no, I can say, look, oh man, look how amazing work we've done in Nepal. But at the end of the day, God gets the glory because it is all about, what we're doing is to show them love and compassion. It's all about Christ. So can we say, we've done good work? Absolutely. And we should be proud of the good work that we've done. But at the end of the day, it's not about me. It's not about you. It's not about any of the stuff that we've done in the sense of like, oh, look at my accomplishment. It's, no, look at Christ through me and what I'm doing. Look at how he's empowered me, how he's given me the wisdom, the words to speak, or the joy and the compassion to be able to speak to these people so that they can see Christ in me and through me.
Yeah, man. Right on. Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
appreciate that.
As we wrap this up, tell us about the hair on the mountains.
Yeah. All right, so I had this crazy thought. I said, have you ever thought about the mountains, right? You see the mountain range behind us. Have you ever thought about the mountains and the trees on the mountains and how the mountain itself is a reflection of like a head, and how the trees are ultimately the hairs on the head. And so when you see a bald mountain, or a treeless mountain. It's a bald mountain at the end of the day. And same with the ones with like snow caps. It's just old mountains, right? Old white hair just growing on them.
just one final profound statement from Jonathan as we close this up. Man, thanks again. I really appreciate
man.
you.
No problem. No problem.
Lack of oxygen, so like things that aren't actually funny seem really, really funny when your oxygen levels are low. So I was looking at it later, it's like, man, that's not that funny, but I'm going to leave it in. So where does all this end, what we've talked about tonight? Where it all ends, it comes down to that as children of God, we are bearers of the image of God. Like, that's what it comes down to. We are a reflection of God and His mighty power, His beauty, His grace, His mercy, that we have been chosen to be that reflection to the world. And that's an incredible, a really big responsibility. It really is. But it's one that we should approach with joy, that we have been chosen to be that image bearer for God, for the Creator of all. How we approach life, what we put importance on, the priorities that we set, where we devote our time, how we interact with each other, the compassion we offer, the patience that we show, the words we use. It all reflects onto the world. What we want to reflect is positivity, love, compassion. We want to reflect the Creator whose image we were created in. We want to reflect that to the world. And while it may seem, again, that is a huge and heavy responsibility, know that, congregation, parents, your lives are impacting these young folks. Know that. And you're impacting each other. We're impacting each other. Young folks, know that your example to the people around you is strong. Know that. Even if you think it's not, it is. That people see you and that your example is strong, and you can be such an amazing positive boost to the environment that you're in and to this world. Know that. And again, while it's a heavy responsibility, it is a beautiful gift. A beautiful gift that God chose us to be image bearers, to bear His image to this world. That's it for this evening. I hope that there's something here that you can take with you forward, something to think on as you look at your life and what it means to be an image bearer to this world. We're going to offer an invitation. If there's anything that we can do for you tonight, we want to be here for you. And that's not just during this invitation song. We want to be here for you at any time. But if there's anything that we can do for you right now, please let us know.